Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. I am so thrilled you're joining us today. We are unpacking the absolute most critical stories from the Observer Group newspapers of Southern California, specifically pulling from the digest for June 3, 2026. We're going to take a highly structured, deep dive into everything that's shaping our community right now. From high-stakes local news and blockbuster sports trades, all the way to major legal shifts and deeply personal cultural legacies, we've got a lot of fascinating ground to cover. So, grab your notebook, focus in, and let's get right to it.
So here's our game plan for today. First up, front page and sports. Then we'll shift gears to the voting rights battle. And finally, we'll wrap up with music, memory, and healing. Let's jump in. Starting with Section 1, Front Page and Sports, we've got some fast-breaking local news and a massive NFL shakeup to look at.
Okay, so overnight there was a pretty tense situation at the Chase Bank building in downtown Bakersfield. But here's the absolute most important takeaway. All the hostages are safe. The Bakersfield Police Department confirmed that the incident concluded safely around 4:20 a.m. This followed an officer-involved shooting involving FBI personnel, and the suspect was pronounced deceased. Now, they've got a press conference scheduled for 10 a.m. at BPD, but please keep in mind, major traffic closures are still in effect downtown, specifically between Truxtun Avenue and 18th Street, as well as H&K streets. It's very much an active scene, so definitely plan your commute around that.
Moving on to some wild sports news, let's break down this absolute blockbuster NFL trade. The Los Angeles Rams defense is getting a complete makeover. The Rams are receiving all-pro defensive end Myles Garrett from the Cleveland Browns. And in return, the Browns are pulling in a massive haul. Defensive end Jared Verse, plus first, second, and third-round draft picks spanning 2017 all the way to 2029. Basically, the Rams are betting the farm. They're trading away a huge chunk of their future draft capital because they firmly believe their championship window is wide open right now, and they're clearly willing to pay a steep price to chase another Super Bowl immediately.
23. Just think about that number for a second. That is the sheer magnitude of Myles Garrett's historic 2025 season. He set the brand new NFL single-season sack record, actually blowing past guys like Michael Strahan and TJ Watt, and honestly, this shows exactly why the Rams made this move. Garrett isn't just a dominant player, he's arriving in LA as the reigning Defensive Player of the Year. He leaves Cleveland as their all-time franchise leader with 125.5 career sacks. And, at 31 years old, he insists he's still got plenty of elite football left in the tank.
But hey, we absolutely cannot overlook what the Cleveland Browns got out of this deal. Jared Verse is an incredible young edge rusher who leaves behind a short but super impactful legacy in LA. In just his first 2 seasons, he racked up 124 tackles, 12 sacks, and even took home Defensive Rookie of the Year honors. I mean, in 2025 alone, he generated 80 total pressures. Verse is pretty much a perfect fit for Cleveland's gritty, hard-hitting defensive identity, giving them a much younger, highly productive cornerstone to build around for years to come.
All right, moving from power dynamics on the turf to power dynamics in the courtroom and at the ballot box. Let's get into Section 2, the voting rights battle. We're going to take a deliberate, impartial look at a major Supreme Court ruling.
So to really grasp the current debate, we first need to understand the bedrock law right at the center of it all, Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. This is the federal law explicitly designed to prohibit voting systems or district maps that dilute the voting strength of racial minorities. For decades now, this specific provision has allowed civil rights groups to challenge district maps if those maps weaken minority political representation. And that was regardless of whether lawmakers actually said they intended to discriminate. It's basically been a foundational tool for protecting minority voting strength nationwide.
Now, here is the crucial turning point. An April 29th Supreme Court ruling has fundamentally altered how this law is applied. Historically, the standard was discriminatory impact. That basically meant civil rights groups only had to prove that a map had the effect of diluting minority votes. But following this recent SCOTUS decision, advocates fear the new standard is shifting to discriminatory intent. Mitchell Brown over at the Southern Coalition for Social Justice notes that this requires what he calls smoking gun evidence. Voting rights groups are deeply concerned here because proving intentional discrimination is a much higher legal bar to clear, especially if lawmakers are simply using race-neutral language.
And this isn't just some abstract national debate. It's deeply relevant right here locally. U.S. Representative Sidney Comliger-Dove, whose district covers parts of L.A. County, points out that even in a super blue state like California, representation just can't be taken for granted. California actually has the 5th largest black population in the country, yet only 3 black members of Congress. She and other members of the Congressional Black Caucus are sounding the alarm that this Supreme Court decision is a nationwide issue, not just a Southern one, and it directly threatens minority representation in our own backyards.
We can actually see the real-world consequences of this unfolding right now in Louisiana. Right after the Supreme Court ruling, lawmakers rapidly proposed redrawing their congressional maps, effectively reducing majority black districts from 2 down to just 1. In response to that, the governor suspended congressional elections that were literally already underway, leaving over 42,000 cast ballots completely in limbo. Local officials are describing the situation as just mass confusion and chaos, with voters totally uncertain if their votes are even going to count.
Before we move on, I really want to emphasize why this matters to all of us, even if you never vote in a congressional election. Historically, Section 2 protections apply to everyday local offices too. We're talking state legislatures, school boards, county commissions, judgeships, and city councils. These are the folks who determine your local public safety policies, your kids' education standards, and where neighborhood infrastructure investments go. So, changing the maps changes who sits in those seats, which directly impacts your day-to-day life.
Let's take a collective breath and shift gears from the heavy political landscape to something deeply cultural and unifying. Section 3, Music, Memory, and Healing. We're going to explore the legacy of Black Music Month.
It is with a really heavy heart that we report the passing of Robert Ginyard, known to the world as the hip-hop pioneer Rob Base. He passed away peacefully on May 22, 2026, at the age of 59, surrounded by his family after a private battle of cancer. If you grew up in the late 80s or early 90s, you know Rob Base was just an absolute force of nature. His family put it beautifully, saying that beyond the stage, he was a loving father and a creative force whose impact shaped an entire generation.
This part is incredibly touching. Just 4 days before he passed, he shared his final public message on Instagram. He wrote, "Happy 59th birthday to me. God, thank you for allowing me to see another year." It's such a beautiful, deeply personal reminder of his gratitude and spirit right up to the very end. It really connects us to the man behind the music, a man who, alongside his childhood friend DJ Easy Rock, brought so much joy to millions of people all around the world.
And honestly, Rob Base and DJ Easy Rock were absolute musical geniuses. With their 1988 anthem, It Takes Two, they didn't just write a hit song, they completely cross-pollinated genres. They took the raw rap beats and flow of hip-hop and fused them with the high-energy, infectious grooves of house music. By doing that, they created a platinum-certified phenomenon that dragged hip-hop out of the underground and straight into mainstream living rooms, roller rinks, and summer cookouts all across America. They proved that hip-hop could fill dance floors, which opened doors for countless artists that followed.
That undeniable power of music brings us perfectly to the perspective of Dr. Monica Soni, who is the Chief Medical Officer for Covered California. She writes, "Music didn't just play in the background of my life, it nurtured me." In her essay honoring Black Music Month, Dr. Soni really shifts our focus. A lot of times we think of music purely as entertainment or nostalgia, like the amazing legacy of Rob Base. But Dr. Soni wants us to look at music, specifically Black music, as a profound, measurable tool for both physical and emotional healing. She beautifully traces this healing power throughout history. Black music has always been this vital form of resilience and communication. It started with spirituals, which carried literal messages of survival and freedom. That eventually evolved into blues and jazz, becoming these profound expressions of resilience and creativity during the Harlem Renaissance. Then, of course, came the civil rights freedom songs, which unified communities and inspired immense courage. And today, that legacy continues through hip-hop and rap, acting as a powerful voice for equality and community empowerment. At literally every single stage, music has been a medicine for the community's soul.
And Dr. Soni brings the actual medical receipts to back this up. Music is an evidence-based supplementary therapy. Research shows it actively eases depression, it reduces anxiety, it aids those dealing with cognitive impairment, and it even helps manage chronic pain. Whether she's throwing a quick family dance party with her kids to lower stress, or just throwing on some quiet Spanish guitar to decompress, she proves that connecting your body and mind through rhythm is a highly effective, tangible way to improve your overall well-being. Which leads us to our final thought for the day. Dr. Soni challenges all of us to find health in every beat. So I want to leave you with this question. How will you turn the music up and keep moving toward healing and connection in your community this week? Whether that's staying informed on the local civic issues we talked about, engaging with a neighborhood council, or honestly, just having a living room dance party to a classic Rob Base track, you have the power to foster that connection. Thank you so much for diving into this explainer with me today. Stay curious, stay engaged, and I'll see you next time.